I'm Anthony Sammarco, and I'm the author of Lost Boston. And today we're actually visiting Beacon Hill. Known for the Massachusetts State House that surmounts the hill itself, Beacon Hill is an area that throughout the period from the settlement of Boston in 1630 by the Puritans has evolved from an area that was known as pasture land right through to today, where it's one of the premier neighborhoods of Boston. In the 17th century, Beacon Hill was one of the three hills of Boston. Boston was called Trimount, and the three hills itself would actually include not just Beacon Hill in the center, but on the left, Mount Vernon, and on the right, Pemberton Hill. These three hills themselves would actually see the name Trimount corrupted into Tremont, and Tremont Street itself is one of the major thoroughfares in downtown Boston. But throughout the 17th and 18th century, Beacon Hill would remain open land. In the late 18th century, Beacon Hill was ripe for development. And in the very early part of the 19th century, the Mount Vernon proprietors, a group of 7 men and 1 woman, would actually develop the hill thanks to Charles Bulfinch. Charles Bulfinch had been commissioned to design the Massachusetts State House. And when it was actually dedicated in 1798, he himself would actually see it as a place not only as a seat of government, but actually the most sophisticated building in New England at the time. The Mount Vernon proprietors, however, were people that were not only looking at this as a place for development, but a place where they would build their own Boston townhouse. And during that period of time, it wasn't just Beacon Street that was named for the beacon that surmounted Beacon Hill, but also Mount Vernon Street, Chestnut Street, Pinckney Street, and Revere Street, all laid out by Charles Bulfinch. Not only were these red brick swell bay facade row houses built on Beacon Hill, but some, such as on Lewisburg Square and Pemberton Square, which is now lost, were 2 great examples of that green space in the middle of the city where these people would have their houses. At the turn of the 20th century, Oliver Wendell Holmes had called Boston not just the hub of the universe, but it was also in some ways that the Massachusetts State House, with its wonderful gilded dome since 1874, that represented the center of not just Boston, but also the capital of New England. But Beacon Hill was named for a beacon that surmounted the hill. It was originally a wooden pole from which a tar bucket was suspended. And throughout the 17th and 18th century, it was thought that if there was a calamity in Boston, somebody would climb that pole and ignite the tar bucket. And by the period of the 1780s, the Bostonians wanted to mark the crest of Beacon Hill. In 1790, Charles Bulfinch erected a magnificent door column of which there was a gilded eagle that surmounted the top. Well, within a short period of time, Beacon Hill was cut down and carted to the base of what is today Charles Street. And in that instance, the monument was actually dismantled. There's a new one that's actually directly behind the Massachusetts State House. The column is new and the eagle, but the original slate tablets that actually line the plinth base actually represent today those original pieces that Bulfinch had designed. So when we think of Beacon Hill today, many of us think of not only the grand houses, the shops on Charles Street, and of course the Massachusetts State House. But Beacon Hill in a lot of ways is something that represents far more. It's an early settlement that was developed as a wonderful neighborhood, the epitome of sophistication. But today it represents in some ways a place that's not only evocative of Boston's architecture, but a place that's actually lovely.